Welcome back, YouTube. We've had some rainy weather here for, I don't know, for a while. Along the southeast coast here, and the rivers are flooded. Everything, one of the landings here, the dock is up under the water already, and we still got more rain to coming up tomorrow and the next day. I think 90% tomorrow and 40% the next day. But while all this rain's been going on, I've been servicing some of these old Zebcos, some of the old reels I have here, sitting around servicing them. And I thought about ordering some bushings for them because some of them had a little bit of play in them. But then when I was online, I saw that they also had bearings. So I did a little research and found some of the size bearings for these Zebcos, like the Zebco 33K and the 33 Authentic, which you can look under the bottom and find exactly what it is. This is 33J J4. But anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead. I'd ordered the bearings, and the bearings had come in, and I'm gonna go ahead and see how these are fitting here, see how they work, see if we can't go ahead and replace these. I'll drop a link below the video in case you want to service some reels or something, or order some bearings. But we can see how these fit in here, and we'll see how they do as we go. Let's do this 33K first. Let's go ahead and take this front cover off. It wants to be a little tight. But like I say, I done serviced them, so I'm not going to go all the way through them today. I'm just do the bearings. Go ahead and get this top lid off here. This is one of the bushings right here that we want to replace. But instead of taking all of this off and removing the line spool, I done greased all that up under there and everything. So all we needed to remove was the lid from off of there. Go ahead and get the back off. Now this back, it took me a while, years ago, the first time I went to service this reel, to grease it, to figure out how to get this cover off of here. I mean, it worked me, it took me, I think, because I know some of the old models, they would either have a screw in here to hold the cover on, or they just twist it off. But this one, it gave me a fit. So I finally figured out, smash down on the bottom part, the thumb button, just take a screwdriver and pop up under there, and it comes right off. Man, this thing give me a headache. Then on your thumb press, you just slide it over to one side. Then we're in there. Let's see, we go ahead and remove this handle, get it out the way. I don't think we need it right now. And something in here is magnetic, because it wants to pull this screwdriver, pull it or push it over to one side. It don't want to stay straight on that screw. I noticed that on pretty much all these 33s when I'd go to work on them. Something magnetic in there or something. But I'd ordered the stainless steel bearings. They had different types in there. So I went ahead and ordered the stainless. Okay, got that off. Now we have this lock pin here that locks everything into place so that it don't move, keeps it stabilized. Take that little lock ring out. Okay, now we got this little piece here over at the side what operates the clicker. So now what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get the bushings out the way. One bushing here. There we go. So right there is one of the bushings. Got it out, and I got the another bushing on this side. Let's take the screwdriver. Some of them be in there a little tight sometime. There we go. There's the other bushing. Now if we can get this gear right in. On this particular one here, this 33K, it has that switch on the side there for your beta alert or for your anti-reverse. You have a little bit of trouble sometimes getting this gear out by there. Trying not to break that piece also. When you get it out, you have an actuator here, and this is what, this part right here is what activates your anti-reverse to stop it from, but this piece will slide back and forth. But you have a tiny washer what sits right there, and you don't want to lose that. It is very tiny. Maybe you can see it there now, but it'll slide off of there if you're not careful. But always make sure that stays on there, because this actuator and everything will slide off. Now we got the bearings out. I see that the key back there has fell out of place. It just sits in a groove in there. And when you go to put it back together, that actuator, if I can get it turned, the actuator has a notch on it, and you have to get that notch to sit in this notch on this lock anti-reverse pin. But this anti-reverse pin, just hard to get this camera to do it myself, but it just sits down in there. Like so. See if I can get it where you can see it. There's a thing down in there that hit a pivot back and forth on in that bottom. But you got to get that actuator lined up with that notch in there whenever you're putting it back on. Now for the bearings. Let's see, we want to pull this out. I'm going to go ahead and do that front bearing first, but we can go ahead and pull this shaft out, and it has a bearing. This is already a bearing that bees on here. This when you first pull that shaft out, but all the way at the other end there's a bushing, and what we want to do is take our screwdriver and stick down in here and push that bearing out of that bushing, because we want to replace that one. Get it down in there. Got to catch it just right. There we go. Now the other two bushings are a black color. This one's a white bushing. But it just sit. Well, done drop that little key out of the thing. But it just sits right in the end there. So get the bushings open, bearings open. See how they can fit here. I'd soak these bearings, put a few drops of oil on them and let them soak for a while. They seal bearings. I'm not sure if any of the oil get down in there or not, but I mean, it don't hurt to put it on there. It ain't gonna hurt anything. It may not help, but it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Just slide that bearing in the end. That fit good and snug. The bearings fit pretty good. Now, this little key's dropped out of there again. I probably should put a little grease in there to help hold it. Hang on a minute. Okay, I'd put a little bit of hard grease in there to hold that piece in, but there's just a little slot right there that it slides down in. So now we can go ahead and put our shaft back in there. Got that bearing there. I put a little grease on there yesterday or the day before. Go ahead and slide it back up in there. Now comes the hard part. It's getting this actuator lined back up so that this piece here on this actuator, that little groove has got to sit down in that slot that's on the anti-lock mechanism. And that's what you have to make sure of, or your anti-lock is not going to work right. Anti-reverse is not going to work right if it don't sit down in there in that little groove. So sometimes this can be a little bit of a pain on this particular Zebco. But I got to make sure that that little washer right there stays on here. It ain't wanting to hit sliding off. It's a tiny little washer. I'm trying to do this and keep the camera focused where y'all can see. And it's a bit of a job. Let's miss the cog down and I can see. There we go. Now it coats. Now it's in there. Let's see if we can get another bearing on here. But these particular size bearings are 1/4 inner, a 1/2 inch outer, and 3/16 thick. That's the size bearings that what I'd ordered. That's what I'm putting in here. They seem to fit snug and tight. Now if these will just go around this shaft here pretty good. See how this is going to fit. But I'm trying to hold that gear into place where that actuator won't slide out of place. That one slid on pretty good. That one went on. Let's see if we can take the screwdriver and slide it. Kind of firm up and into place. Slide this one up in there. And it seems like the actuator is in place because I'll try to roll it back, it stops it. Anti-reverse piece. That seemed to fit pretty snug in there. I'm going to take the handle and see if I can push them on up in there and get them good and snug. We can get that pin in. Now, if we can get our lock key to go back in. back down in them slots there. There we go. Got that in. Seems to be working correctly. Now, try to get this back on. But like I say, I'd already had these apart the other day while it raining so much, and I went on and checked and ordered some bearings. They come in. Want to make sure I get that. I ain't wanting to cross thread the handle going on. And the bearings come in, and I wanted to get them in there to see how they work, and they pretty snug in this. They're the right size bearings. Replace the bushings. Got that on. Let's go ahead and put our end cover back on. Come on now, don't be acting up. Get on camera, you want to act up. Thumb piece back on. Got to get this lined up just right. Having some technical difficulties here. If it's not lined up just right, it won't go on there. That'll save your butt. Just like something that won't give you a hard time whenever you get on camera. There we go. Finally, we got it snapped in there. Now I'll put our end piece back on. Oh yeah, good and smooth there. Well, that's one down. Man, instead of a 1-ball bearing system, that's a 4-ball bearing system now on the Zebco. I'd ordered them for this K here. Let's see if they'll fit that authentic 33 over there. Should be the same size bearings. If so, I'll put them extra 2 bearings in it. Okay, on this is just simple to take it off of this authentic 33. Let's give it a twist and pull it off of there. And take the screwdriver and try to get up under that little lock pin there. Go ahead and remove this handle. I believe it's the same size bearings. Some bearings will probably fit several different types of Zebco 33s, I would guess. I know these are not bearings in here because I already had it apart, and they just chrome looking plastic bushings. They look just like a bearing, but not quite. There we go. Yeah, it don't matter there. Stop giving me a hard time. But these bushings here look just like the bearings. That's the bearing in my right hand, and that's that bushing in my left hand. That's the bearing, that's a bushing. And they look almost identical, but you got a race. The race on that inside, when you turn this bearing, you can see the race in there is moving. Not moving this here, the whole thing will move. Where that'll spin on the race. This could be simple. Change this one. I just want to make sure that that little small washer didn't fall out of there. I still see it in there. Let's go ahead and put these two bearings and then see how they fit in this one. These stainless steel bearings should last a good while without having to grease them. Yeah, they fit tight and snug. So they fit both, fit the K and the J. Put our lock ring back in. Lock key, lock ring, whichever one you want to call it. This little joker had trouble with it the other day. You have to have it lined up just right to push down on it to get it to snap into place. Wants to lean over to one side. There it went. So we got it on there. Oh man. Well, these two's ready for the springtime fishing. I mean, it's smooth there. If I'd have had the extra bearing, I would have replaced the bushing in the front of this one also. So, but now this one will be a 3 bearing system and that one's a 4. But I'll order some more bushings and some of my older Zebcos. I still got several older Zebcos that need servicing, but I'll order some bearings and put in them, and I shouldn't have to mess with them for a while with them stainless steel bearings. But the bushings in there, about, I don't know, once during the summer I had to pull them down and grease them or put a little oil in there, especially under the bushings, because them bushings get tight after a while. The grease leaves from under them. But maybe these bearings, you know, fish the whole summer, maybe in the next year sometime. Ain't no telling how long them sealed bearings will last. But these are the stainless. They had other types when I was on there looking at the bearings, but I went ahead and went with the stainless steel bearings because I figured they would be more rust resistant and stuff and getting wet. But anyhow, that's it with servicing the reel and placing the bushings in, bearings in there. Just a little tip: if you have 33s or something other laying around, you can replace them bushings with bearings. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed. Water gets down and stuff. I don't know how long that'll be, but we'll be getting out there doing some fishing and making some more videos and stuff. Hope you enjoyed, YouTube.